Arsenal fans who come to me, oh, don't like what you do, shouldn't talk about the club. But
Simon Jordan said on TalkSport, he said, Arsenal Fan TV is drivel, adding it thrives on toxicity, it's a commercial venture, and the guy Robbie makes a fortune off of it.
He was very angry with me that day. He didn't even want to shake my hand at the end of the show. As your thing starts to really grow and get big, people are going to start coming for you. They're going to start cussing you, criticizing you. But one thing.
Today's guest is Robbie Lyle. Robbie is the founder of Arsenal Fan TV and DR Sports. And let me just give you an interesting nugget. We just finished the conversation, shortly after the conversation, and Robbie turns to me and he says, I revealed things during that interview that literally only my brother knows. And so I think really what you're going to get in this episode is a true, authentic inside look into how one of the most controversial, unique sports media brands was built. And so, yes, now you see Arsenal Fan TV and DR Sports and their successful media brands, they're multi-million-dollar companies, but the journey of getting there was not that easy, especially from Robbie's perspective. He came across so much anger, so much backlash from sections of the media, from players and former players, from trolls and people online. He even tells a story during this episode where he was attacked, physically attacked, by fans outside of the stadium that weren't happy with what Arsenal Fan TV were doing. And so I think for so many people, we saw this playing out in lifetime. I know I saw it playing out in lifetime. And in this episode, you get the true look, the true behind the scenes. And so I'm not going to say too much more. We're just going to get into it. So welcome to the Calum Johnson Show and our episode with Robbie Lyle.
I think so much of our character and who we are and the way that we behave is really formed in our childhood, in our early years. And so I actually have a photo for you.
Oh, God.
I have a photo for you.
All right.
And I'm going to show you the photo.
That's our photo, man.
Yeah.
Where you get that from?
Trawling the internet
to
find this.
Yeah.
And so, you know what? Tell me about that childhood. Tell me, what were some of those early experiences that really shaped who you are today?
Well, childhood was good. You know what I mean? That's, you can see my three brothers in the picture. There was four of us, four boys, right? Hence the whole football thing going on in the house. But four boys, parents were Jamaican, and they moved to England. Well, they moved to England in the 60s and set up home in London. And that's where we were all born. And then when we were younger, they moved to Luton. My dad got a job down there. So Luton was always big for like the Vauxhall car factory and that. So, and then, yeah, we did grew up with most of our schooling and that in Luton. And it was, I'd say childhood-wise, was a happy childhood. Strict house, Jamaican house, old school. My dad was proper old school as well.
Yeah.
Right. So, but you know what I mean? Lots of love in the house. My mum, very church going. Your typical Jamaican family of those times. You know what I mean? But a really loving house. You know what I mean? I got on great with my brothers. Still do get on brilliantly with my brothers. Our parents really guided us and really, instilled some really good principles in us. And I think those have stayed with us to this day. And all of my brothers, have gone on to do really good things as well. So it's fantastic.
Yeah. You mentioned some of those principles. And I'm just curious to get into it. We even actually have an image of your dad. And what were some of kind of the principles, some of the things that he was teaching you that kind of stick with you right now?
Well, hard work.
There it is.
Yeah, we got my dad. Hard work, he always used to use the saying of, and he's still true to this day. He goes, when you're a black man, because he was a very he was a man that was like always reminded us of our culture and who we were, and you know, and he'd be like, as a black person in the UK, especially in those times, he goes, you're gonna have to work twice as hard if you're gonna be successful. So don't think you can just go and just work, you're gonna have to put it in. And then I used to watch him, how hard he used to work, because he was a plasterer. And sometimes when I used to go and work with him, man, I tell you, he would push you. He'd be like, yo, Dad, when are we gonna get like, because sometimes we go and work with him in the summer. He'd be like, yo, when's the, you know, break? Tea break. He goes, which tea break? We've got to mix up the concrete, right? So he, hard work, discipline, you know, work hard at school. Don't play around with the school thing with him. You know, he weren't having it. And listen, we messed up at school, but he'd be on us if we did. And I'd say with him, the hard work, the discipline, integrity. You know, I mean, if you say you're going to do something, do it, right? Don't promise someone you're going to do something and then don't do it. He was very hot on those sort of things. And as I said, you know what I mean, he was very hot on the sort of cultural side as well. He's like, you know, you're growing up in the UK, but remember your heritage. And I remember my dad always used to say, wait, you are African. I was saying, Dad, African? Hold on, wait a minute. You and my mum, you're both born in Jamaica, so and we're born in England. So we're English, or we're Jamaican. He's going, no, you're African. He goes, every person who's black is African, and he taught us about slavery and all stuff like that. So he was very good in that way. And then, as I said, my mum, Christian, used to make us go to church, right? Sometimes it was forced, right? But it's all good. It's all good. And she, again, a person very principled, very kind. She was very kind. She believed in, you know, you should share things with people. Another thing that I've kept to this day, she believed that you should treat people right and treat people with respect, no matter who they are, whatever color, whatever belief, you know. She was that person. Great principles we grew up with from my parents.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Growing up for me as well, my dad was very big, and he spoke to me a lot about how to navigate the world as a black man.
Yeah.
And those same principles of you're going to have to work harder, there's going to be more attention on you. Even the way that I would speak, you know, you'd have to speak in a certain way.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, for you, what did that create for you as a person? And here's what I mean with that. I know that in my circumstance, when I was getting into the working world, I was approaching it with a certain intensity because of those lessons from my dad. I had a certain ambition, and I'm just curious, keeping in mind and just reflecting on some of those things that your dad would tell you, those kind of early moments in your career, was that really at the forefront of your mind? And if so, how was it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's the same with me. And I mean, all the things that he taught me, I started to put into effect, you know. And I think as well, like, when I was involved in the music business, the reggae music business in the early days, and you know, there was a lot of times when you can go in the wrong direction. You meet a lot of people, you know, that industry in them times, because it was a bit wild west, you know what I mean? But anytime I was kind of slightly maybe looking in the wrong direction, I'd remember the words of you know, what he taught me and what my mum taught me. And also I'd be very, very sort of scared to let them down. I really didn't want to let them down, you know what I mean, because of the things they taught us all our life. So those principles have always stuck with me. And I think especially now, like to this day, you know, they stay with me. And, you know, and then my parents, like my mum and dad were very hot on education. They were like, you know, read books, learn, you know. My mum was my mum was a teacher. A cleaner teacher. My brother's a teacher, actually. My mum was a cleaner at the school that I went to when I went to high school. And she used to get all the information off all the teachers and all that. You could have stepped out. You know what I mean? Anytime I stepped out of line at school, before I even got home, my dad knew. And it was problems. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So they were always, they cared about us a lot. They really showed a lot of interest in our education. They made sure that we worked hard. They, you know what I mean? They were on our case, man. They didn't just, you know, they were on our case. And that's one of the reasons I feel, you know, any successes that I have in that, I put it down to them, the way they brought us up.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. You spoke about the music career. I even have an image, actually, I think.
You got a lot of images, man. Where you get these images from, bro?
We've got a slideshow. I'm like your mum back in the day. I did all my intel.
I'm scared now.
All my reconnaissance.
I'm getting scared now, man. Where you getting all these images from?
Yeah.
That's me and my brother.
Yeah. And you know what? I want to talk about the music career, because obviously everyone's aware of AFTV and what you've done there, and we'll get into that. The music career, not so much. and you even mentioned with your dad and your mom that there were temptations there when you were navigating the music career. And it was like, I just don't want to let them down. Yeah. And I'm curious, when you reflect on it, are there certain moments, stories that you remember where it was like, it was close to you kind of making a misstep, or maybe you even did, and you feel the consequence of it?
There was a lot of...
Give me just one.
All right, I'll give you one.
Okay, quick break. I think something that's so important to me with this show is that I want to do things differently. And here's what I mean. I've listened to so many podcasts where the experience and the conversation is interrupted by sponsors that, as the audience, I don't care about. And so something that was really important to me is that when we do bring on sponsors and partners, they will be the correct partners that are advertising a product that my audience cares about. But in order to do that, I need your help. So linked in the description below is a 5-question survey. You can complete it in 90 seconds or less. And this is going to give us all of the information so that we can get sponsors that actually bring you value. And here's the deal that I'm going to make with you right now. If you answer that survey and you give us this information in just a second of your time, we're going to make everything about this show better. We're going to scale the guests. We're going to scale the production. Everything that goes into making this an amazing experience for you. So, you answer the survey, we're going to take this to an even higher level. We're going to keep offering you more and more value. And so go to the link in the description. Help me help you. Now back to the show.
I was making music, and I made a tune called Proud to be Black. That my brother had a sound system, and started, him and his friends, and I started emceeing on the sound system and found out that I had a real talent for it. And people used to say, Robbie, you're really good, because I was very good at writing lyrics. And then I did this tune called Proud to be Black, which I just used to perform on the sound systems, and actually blew up and got to #1 in the UK reggae charts and started blowing up in America. It was doing really well, and I was starting, now all of a sudden you start to get big, and you know what I mean, you're going all over the UK and doing shows and different countries, like particularly like Europe, France, Germany a lot, America. I even did a reggae sunsplash in Jamaica. And then you're in that field where, and them times the reggae fields, a bit, like I said, a little bit wild, wild west. So you have to, you know, as a young person in it, sometimes you have to have some people around you that, I wouldn't say it's protection, but those people make sure you get paid, for instance. Because, you know, you go and do shows, a lot of people who promote shows and that in those days weren't the sort of promoters you'd see now. They were drug dealers, or they were a little bad man in the area and everything. You know what I mean? But, you know what I mean, that's what it was like. And so I used to know all them man there. And, you know, when you know these sort of people, you know, certain things start getting put your way. And I remember one time there was one where it was like, well, Robbie, you're making a little change now. Why don't you come and invest? And I'm not talking about the type of investments that is like real estate and stuff like that. I'm talking about an investment, basically an investment into drugs, yeah? And the way it was put to me, right, is big money. It's like, you invest like a $5,000, you know, within a month, that's could double. And I know the people that was putting me that proposition to me, and I saw what they were doing, and I believed them. I believed it would double. But when I went home the night, I remember I could hardly sleep. And I was just like, nah, man, this is not. Suppose this thing goes wrong, man. And then my dad and my mum, I'm going to have to talk to them. And I was like, nah. I had a very sleepless night. And then, and I knew these men, and like, you know what I mean? I went back the next day and I said to him, you know what? Thanks for the offer and thing, but it ain't for me, man. I just want to make music. I do the music thing, you know? It's not really my thing. And the thing that's always stuck with me to this day is that the person, I'm not going to say his name, right, but the person who put that proposition to me, he said to me, you made the right decision. Because if I'm being honest with you, Robbie, this is not a good business. He goes, you come out, and I always remember what he said. He goes, you come out your house in the morning, you're looking over one shoulder for police, and you're looking over the other shoulder for bad man. Right? And he goes, that's the business, right? And I was glad I didn't get into it. And, you know, later on down the line, that person got locked up, you know what I mean, for a long time as well. Like, he did about 10 years, you know, long time, right? And so I put that down to the fear of letting down my parents. I'm like, because at the time I'm thinking it could be an easy money, it could be an easy, but that fear of the words that they instilled in me, the things they told me, I was like, nah, not for me. And then, you know what I mean, you're, as I said, you're in a business where, you know, like, I remember, like, I go to shows. I remember one time I did a show in, why am I telling you all this, right? Well, I remember one time I did a show in France, right? And we was up on stage, and the promoter came round, and he had 2 envelopes, and he gave it to me and said, yeah, this is for you. I said, all right, cheers. What is it? I'm thinking, boy, a man's paying me already. I go, this is good. When I opened one of them, it's full of weed. When I opened the other one, it had coke in it. So I'm like, yeah, I said to the guy, yeah, what's this? I go, yeah, I don't smoke, so I don't need that one, and I definitely don't need this one. And I gave it back to him. And he goes, oh. He's like, he was surprised. Like, I'm thinking, what, you think everybody does reggae smokes, you know what I mean? Or does, I said, you know what I mean? I said, if you want to get me something, get me a brandy. I'll have a drink, but I don't, you know. So those are the things I like. You know what I mean? I've always been my own person. You know what I mean? I don't have to follow the crowd just because everyone's lighting up a spliff. I don't smoke. I don't enjoy it. So I don't need it. And I don't care if like everybody in the room's bunning it. That's their business, right? And I ain't gonna judge them, but yeah, no, that's not me. So, and I think that those things came from my parents. I really do. And I've still got them sort of, you know, things today, those principles where I stick to them. I try to stick to them, you know what I mean? So,
you know, it's really the sign, I think, of great parents, which is, and I feel this a lot with my mum and dad. We all have these like inflection points in our life. When we look back, there's these moments where we could have made one decision or we could have made another, and it would have ended up in very different scenarios. And they're like key turning points. And the way that I think about it, it almost feels like I carry my mum and my dad with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
You know what it's like? You know, you ever watch them cartoons where, I remember you said it's cartoon, Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
Where like the angel would ping up, the devil would ping up and say, no, man, do that. And then the angel pings up and says, hey, no. I mean, it's like that. And it's words, it's guidance, because you know what I mean. There's a lot of times, right? People get into problems with the law and stuff like that, and it's just they've made a wrong choice. But the problem is, it's just too late. So many of my friends, like, you know, got family members that have made, you know, got one family member in particular, I just feel so bad for him because he just made a bad choice that he's paying a heavy price for. You know, doing, you know, 20 odd years in prison because of a bad choice. And so the words that, you know, the words that those that were given to me, and even to this day, like even when it's my kids, I'm like, I can't be there with you, but I'm going to give you words to try and guide you so that when those situations come around, because they will, these situations will come around, hopefully you make the right choice, because there's so many times you can go down the wrong path. A lot of people who go down the wrong path, they're not bad people, you know. They're not even, you know, but once you've gone down there, it's too late, and it's like, you know, I've seen people that have been involved in knife crime and they regret it, but it's too late. You did it. And now you're going to have to face the consequences of it, and there's consequences for the person that got stabbed, there's consequences for you who's done it, there's consequences for their family, for your family, and then you're just sitting in a prison cell full of regrets for the rest of your life, just for that, like you said, that inflection point. So it's so important for us to give that, try and keep giving that message over. That's what happened with me. Those messages were in my head. So every time I was in any sort of situation like that, I knew what was the right thing to do. I may be tempted by the bad thing, but I knew that really, hey, that's not really the right thing to do. That's gonna get me in some serious problems. And I'm gonna have to face up to my parents and tell them what happened. And this is not to say I haven't done things. I have, you know what I mean? We all make mistakes, right? But it's those sometimes them really serious ones, man, that there's no coming back from, you know what I mean? So,
you know, I think it's almost like an irony of life that you have these different temptations, these things which are, they feel difficult to resist. And the reason I say it's even like an irony of life is I feel like a lot of the times it's when things are going well. So things start going well, you start getting traction, you start getting momentum, you start feeling yourself. And the temptation and the stakes of the temptation get higher and higher, it gets more tempting. And I'm curious, I want to get a bit deeper into the music stuff because it's just such an interesting part of the story that you have this track that is so popular in the UK, and I'm sure even at the time, like, you're almost starting to become a bit of almost like a local celebrity. Like, people are starting to know you, recognize you. Oh, you did that song. Oh, I listened to that.
Used to say, "Get a celebrity," you know.
And I'm just curious, what was happening to you, like, mentally, emotionally at that time? You're starting to get these plaudits, this validation. I'm sure it does something to your ego and everything. You start feeling yourself a little bit. What was happening?
Yeah, well, listen, it does. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Everybody knows who you are all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Women want to know you more. Like, it's great. You know what I mean? You can't. You know what I mean? It's like you're, as I said, like, everybody's your friend. You know what I mean? You know, you feel. Yeah, you feel really, really good. But again, you know, I've always been quite a humble person. I've never really let the ego thing run away with me. So, and I've always been a sort of, again, I'm always like, what's the next thing? What can I do here? You know what I mean? So I don't think I ever got big-headed, man. I've never had that in me to be like a big-headed person. Like, you know, I used to see some artists and, yeah, man, I mean, no, I wasn't that type of guy. I was just like, you know, let people come and tell you you're doing good before you should be going and telling people, boasting off you. And I think I got a lot of that from, like, especially like my mum, very humble person. They come from very humble background. They come from a very poor background, my parents, right? I was just very humble. I was like, but I ain't gonna lie, it was good. You know what I mean? It's good for a period of time, man. You know what I mean? You're good. I mean, you're a person that you don't even travel nowhere. You know, I didn't even really know, apart from when I was going to football games, I didn't really know even many places outside like London, Luton. That was about further north, as far north as I went. And all of a sudden you're going all around the country, Birmingham, Manchester, Nottingham, here, there, and then you go into different countries. I hadn't really been to a lot of countries. Been to Jamaica and that was it. Never really, when I was growing up, we didn't, you see people now, we're off on holiday. And I used to see, a lot of the people at my school, they'd be, oh yeah, we're off to Spain and we're going to France. We didn't go nowhere, man. We went down to the park and we were happy. We really have no money about no big holidays. Jamaica or a family, or sometimes in the summer you go and visit family and them. So all of a sudden now you're traveling, it's great. It's absolutely brilliant. But I also feel that those times really helped me a lot with what I do now as well. And because I could see a lot of pitfalls when you do start thinking you're bigger than you are, and you do start, I saw it a lot in other people, especially like people who, let it get to their head. So I learned a lot from that time.
Yeah, it's interesting. We have so much clarity and like hindsight. So when we're reflecting back on an experience, it's like, oh, that was the moment, or that was the mistake that I made, that was the pitfall. And so I'm curious to get into Robbie today. When you look back on your life at that time and what was happening and some of the triumphs, but then also some of the mistakes that you were making, what comes to mind immediately when you think about, even when you say some of the pitfalls, some of the things that, mistakes that you were making, what kind of comes to mind as that was a moment when it started to kind of wane a bit?
Quick break. One of the things that I love about doing this podcast is being able to take you guys on the journey with me. And I'm going to be doing just that. And let me just give you a bit more insight into what I mean. So next week, I'm going to be flying to LA to attend this conference. It's the first time I've ever done an event with the podcast. And it's Arlen Hamilton's Your First Million Live. And some of the speakers that she's got to speak and share their knowledge and their game at this event are incredible. First of all, Rich Paul, the founder of Clutch Sports and also LeBron James's agent, to Gary Vaynerchuk, to Issa Rae, to Sheila Johnson, who was the first black woman billionaire and the founder of BET, are all going to be speaking at this event. And so it's just an incredible room of aspiring entrepreneurs, current entrepreneurs, people that are just looking to up level in their life and their job. So if you can, I encourage you to get a ticket to the event. It's going to be incredible, and I'll leave a link to the event page in the description. But if not, if you can't make it, I'm going to be sharing the behind the scenes and what my experience was in LA. So stay tuned. We're going to see it in future episodes. And without further ado, back to the show.
Now, I don't really target. I can't really see one. The music, I could see it coming. So I'm doing the music thing, and I was doing it for a few years and doing well. But I could see it coming. I could see because music's the thing. I always say I big up any musician that's on top for a long time. It's so hard because new people come along. Younger people come along, and then you're trying to replicate what you did before, but it's not always easy. And I was chatting to one of my friends the other day, Tipper Irie, who's like, he's still to this day doing music and doing really well. And I go, yo, Tipper, honestly, you don't know how well you've done, man. To be still doing it after all these years, right, and still be making a massive living out of what you do is fantastic. But it's, with me, I could see it coming. I could see that things were waning a bit. I could see that shows were a little less. I wasn't, I was doing making tunes, but they weren't as big as the previous stuff. So I could see it, you know what I mean? I was comfortable with it. I was like, yeah, I've had a good ride, but I need to start looking at other things now, you know what I mean? And I started, and I did for a while. I then started getting into more DJing, and I worked on the radio, and I did very well at that for a period of time. And then I saw that was kind of, you know, and then, you know, I had to go and, you know, start saying to myself, I need to start, because I worked when I first started doing music, I was working as well. I worked in the civil service for the DHS. So I started to say to myself, right, I'm going to have to, you know, I worked in it for a few years, then I was doing music full time. Then I started to see, man, no, I need to get a job. I'm going to need to get a job. Now, there's a lot of artists who, they don't, you know, they've been, and again, that's because of the ego thing, because they've been up there and everybody's been bigging them up. Yes, this, that. They don't want to go and get a job. They want to just keep going and going and going, and they just believe that, you know, they're too, it's like they almost feel embarrassed that, you know, I was this artist that everybody was looking up to, and now I'm going to have to go and get a 9 to 5 like everybody else. But I weren't like that. I was kind of like, yeah, I need to get a 9 to 5, man. I got a house to pay for. I need to go and work. So I saw it coming, man. I was, you know, and I guess that's because I didn't have the big ego thing. It's hard. I ain't gonna lie. You know, I remember I'd be working and people going, yo, Robbie, I never knew you're working. I didn't play. Why? And I knew that when they're gone, they're chatting me. I knew that when they're gone, but I'm thinking, yeah, brethren, you're not paying for my house, bro. You're not putting food on my table. I need to put food on my table now. I need to work. So
I feel like that is unique. And the reason I say it's unique.
It's tough, bro.
Yeah.
Listen, I ain't saying it's easy either, because it's not. Because like I said, when you get them little situations where people come and say those sort of things to you, you're like, wonder if I could get back in. But then reality, you got to look at reality. Say, yeah, no, actually, bro, I need that man there who's just running up his mate, he's not up here for my bills. No, I don't care.
Yeah. I just think about it from the mental standpoint of, and even if you just think about what's happening in your life, it's you get this like hit track, Proud to Be Black, and it's being listened to everywhere, and you're getting validation, you're getting all of these things from it, and it's going up and up, and so you get to see and experience this new lifestyle. And so I almost think it's almost worse to see what could have been and then have it come back down to where you're going.
But then also, right, again, this is where the ego thing, right? So also I was in the UK reggae industry. You're making money, but you're not making millions. You're not making huge money. You're making decent money, you know, but you're not making huge money. So everybody thinks you are, because everyone just thinks the minute you make a music, I guess it's the same for all the artists now. Everyone just thinks,
he's gone,
man, millionaire boy, you know. Nah, right? You're making a decent money. It's only the top artists who make that mega money, you know what I mean? So, as I said, I knew that. I knew, you know, and I didn't really care that there's going to be people thinking, why is he now just doing a regular job? I'll tell him, oh, boy, I mean, I ain't making no money out of that, man. I need a job. And I know, listen, and I'm not, what you're saying is true. It can have a mental side. And I knew a lot of people, right, friends of mine in the industry and that, we really affected them. Because you've got, it's like crash and burn. You've been up there, and then all of a sudden now, you know, and you're trying your hardest to replicate that success, and it's just not happening for you. So I really do get the mental side of it. I'm just saying, in my case, I already knew it was coming, right? I could see it coming. I was trying my hardest, but I could see that next cycle's coming now. Time for another season, right? And you know, I can still dabble in it a bit, but I need a job. And that was how I sort of was doing it as well. So I was still doing bits, but I'm working as well, you know, and I ain't going to say it wasn't easy, because, you know, you do sometimes feel a little bit embarrassed, because you're just like, yeah, I was up there, you know what I mean? But once, after a little while, you start to be, you know, you're paying your bills and that, and the man asks you, say, yeah, man, what, I can't work? Yeah, no, Robbie, man, I just thought that, boy, well, you thought wrong. You know what I mean? That's not how, you know what I mean? The money that you think artists are making it's not true. It's not facts.
You said, you know, time for a new season. And I'm curious, at that time, was the mindset, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna get a regular job, I'm gonna kind of pay my dues in that sense, but you're looking for what's the next thing?
Yeah.
Were you dissatisfied?
I've done a lot of businesses, right? I'll tell you, me, right, that my mum always used to say to me, she goes, oh, you're gonna be some sort of, because I've just always been like that. Like, all my brothers went uni, I didn't go uni. Like I said to my mum and dad, I want to work. I don't want to go no uni. I said, we're ready for work now. They're like, yeah, and that's not because I got decent grades. I got good grades at school. I was doing A-levels, but I said, I want to work. I applied for jobs, got a decent job, went to work. My first job, I was working down near Notting Hill, near Ladbroke Grove, right? So I was always that guy. I've had market stalls where I sold clothes. I used to have a little business where I used to go to America, buy clothes. You remember in them times, like there's all hip hop clothes and all them thing? I used to go buy clothes, bring them back and sell. I had that business that was doing well for a good few years. Then that went down. Knew that season was over. Time to move on to the next thing. I used to promote a lot of events. So I'd started up a little promotions company, right, that I used to do. I was doing that at the same time I was doing the clothes thing as well. I used to promote events, promote clubs at nightclubs. Did pretty well out of that. Was doing well, so well till one time this guy had a nightclub, said, Robbie, do you want to buy it? I said, buy it? Well, I ain't got money to buy your club. He said, no, we can sort out a deal. You pay for it in installments. Like he just thought, I said, all right. Was doing that. That was doing all right. Then came out of that. Then I was promoting, did another club with a friend of mine, the friend of mine that I did the other club with. Me and him used to go to Highbury together, watch Arsenal. Did that. That one flopped. I mean, you know what? And it flopped. That club, I remember that flop wasn't because of us. We were great promoters. We used to get people in, but because of problems at the club, because the police there the police and licensing people hated our club. They didn't like the fact that, you know, every weekend, it's about black people. This was my personal opinion, but I just felt that they didn't like the fact that every weekend that club was packed with black people. They thought it was going to be a load of trouble, stuff like that. And they did everything they did to shut it down. And they were very successful. They did shut it down, and I lost a load of money. And, but from that, then I went quiet again, working, just getting on with, that's when I started to work and train as a surveyor and was doing my surveyor stuff and all that, keeping my head down, paying back some of the money I owed, because not all the money that I had for that club came from a bank, right? you know them type of payback, right? Where you have to pay back those ones you can't that money back. You know them ones you can't default on. Yeah, I had a few of those, right? So I had to pay back their money. I paid them all back, got back their money, kept my head down, do my thing. But even then, I was just like, you know, it's almost like you're sort of scratching yourself. You're like, you know, doing this job, man. This job's all right, man, but I want to do my own thing, man. You know what I mean? It's just me. And that's when then eventually I went on to start doing AFTV.
Yeah.
I had the idea for a long time, right? It just started off as a little seed, and I had the idea for a long time, but I hadn't put it into fruition.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's my friend who, me and him had the club, that he was doing a boxing channel. And I saw what he was doing there. A couple of times he said to me, he goes, yeah, Robbie, going doing this fight up in Liverpool, do you want to come? And I say, yeah. He goes, yeah, can you hold a camera for me? I go, I don't know about a camera, brethren. I don't know, because it was good. I'll focus it and that. All you got to do is hold it. So, all right. And then I saw him in action and that, and I was like, yeah, this is YouTube. You can put the content on YouTube. And it's from there, that's when I started thinking to do this.
Yeah. You know, I want to get deeper into the AFTV stuff, but before we do, You know, I'll speak with my friends, I'll speak with peers, and one thing that I hear from them and I feel it from them is this, because when I listened to your story, there was almost like this experimentation phase. Like you were trying all of these different things. There was the club, there was the reggae artist. Like you were trying your hand at all of these pursuits, and it would start kind of successful and then it would come down and you'd have to bounce back and do it again. And when I
wouldn't call them experiments. At the time, I always thought they were. I thought they were great. Yeah, I thought this was it. All of them. You know? But yeah, you know, what I mean, I flopped a lot. Yeah.
And I hear this frustration when I speak with people because they have that exact experience of, I'm trying this thing, it didn't work. Then they're building themselves up again, putting their confidence, bravery, courage into this new thing, doesn't work. And I'm just curious, what was creating the bounce back every time? Because it seems like you were going for things, but it wasn't even easy bets, really. Like it wasn't even, I'm going to take the safe route. Because a lot of the times when people get something and it keeps not working, they go safe, right? They go cautious. Oh, well, I just want something to work. So I've seen this do well before, so I'll just do this. It's not truly what they want to do.
Yeah.
But it's a safe bet. They want their confidence
I think
back.
With me, I'm not scared of things. I'm not a scared person, right? So I'll try. I won't be scared to try something. So that's, I think, I'm a bit fearless. There'll be something, I'll be like, yeah, I'd like to do that. And I'll try it, I will attempt it. You know? So even with the businesses I've done, like say if I'm talking about when I was doing the sort of promotion stuff, I was already kind of just doing it on the side. I was working, and it was a little side hustle, you know what I mean? Because of all my connections in the music business, like, and stuff like that, I knew I could get on the phone and I could ring up some artists and I could say, yo, I've got this little club and, you know, can you come and do a show for me, man? Give me a little, you know what I mean? You know, me and you, you know, we got way back and broke a little piece off. And they say, yeah, Robbie, man, you're a thing, I'll come. And then, so I had those connections, so I was doing it as a little side hustle. And I'm like, yeah, it's not doing too bad, man. No, I'm not doing too bad myself because I've got my job, I'm making my money off of that, and I'm making a little money off of that. So I could just sit comfortable. But me, I know what I'm like. I'll be like, maybe I could turn this into a full business. This could become, and then I get a piece of paper out and I start writing down the name of my promotional company, and then I start mapping out what I'm gonna do, which artists I'd like to bring next, planning it for this year. So I'm not scared of these things, man. And then the next minute, you know, I ring up the job and say, yeah, I've decided to leave, you know. They'd be like, Robbie, why? You know, I mean, you're doing well in the job. I said, nah, you know, I've got this little business I'm starting. So I've done that a lot. I'm not really scared. I'm not scared. I'm not scared of it. You know, and, you know, I always thought they were all winners. And I've never really felt like what you just said there, that like, you know, this is a part of the pathway. I always thought that, you know, but now when I look back on it now, I realise that you do have to flop a few times, man. You're going to have to fail a few times. Luckily, for some people, they don't. Some people, they might just straight away, boom, bang, that's it. But there's other people that, you know, because sometimes as well, the thing that you're doing is not really the thing for you. You just don't know it at the time. You know, maybe, you know, I'm a person that, listen, I believe in God, yeah? And I firmly believe that sometimes, right, if you have faith in God and you just say to him, all right, you know what, I'm going to kind of leave it over to you, man, and you guide me through this, he will. And what he does sometimes, right, he's ruthless in a good way, right, is that if something ain't for you and you're, say, praying to him or you're asking him and you're saying, God, this business, man, is this for me? I mean, I really like it and it's good. If he thinks it ain't, he'll lock off that thing in a way that you'll never go back to it. That's what I think. That's what I believe happened to me with the nightclub thing. Because I remember when that flopped, you know, I was like so upset. Because I was like, what have we done? I remember I've been saying to my mate Coogan, what have we done to deserve this, man? We've done everything, man. We pack out the place. We fixed up the place with our own money. We didn't sort of, go to no banks. We got money off of people, and we've been paying them back. We got good security. And what these people, they have just deliberately set out to ruin us. And what have we done? And then now, when I look back on it, I'm saying, I actually believe that was God. God was like, yeah, I see this thing, this nightclub thing. Nah, that's not for you. And I'm going to lock it off in a way that you never go back. When man tell you about nightclub, the only way you're going to go is if you're going out. You're not going to run it no more. It's coming to an end. Whoom. I truly believe that when I look back at that thing in particular. And I was think, okay, because I was like, once my experience with that, I was like, F this. I'm not going back to this. This is, because how can you do a business that you can't even have outside people and just influence your thing, just get shut down like this? I was really bitter, really angry with that particular one. I think that was God just saying, yeah, man. You asked me if this was for you. You asked me to, is this the right path and that? I told you it's not. I kind of felt not too sure. I told you it's not. You didn't listen. You want me to help you? All right, I'm going to help you. Just, you don't work in the way we think. He just locked it off, man. Boom! I'll just be honest, man. I do believe that.
Yeah. God intervened. God
intervened in that one, man. He said, nah.
Yeah.
This one.
I'm curious, why was that such a sore spot for you? And I could see it even as you were speaking. It still resonates. Like, it still strikes a sore point of someone outside of what I'm doing came in, and
it was a sore point because we did honestly, I worked so hard. We took over this building, we fixed it up. Like, I worked so hard to make that thing a success. And the way it all went bad was not really of my making. And so I've just felt a bit bitter about the way it all ended. And I lost a lot of money. I lost a lot of money that I didn't have at that time because, as I said, it's a bit like you're doing a project and you budgeted for it, but then it run over budget, and so we borrowed money off people. Probably people we shouldn't really borrow money off, but we did. And, so it was really tough. I had a really tough time because I had to pay these people back their money, and I wanted to make sure I paid them back their money as well. It's not just the fact that, the people that you're getting the money from, you need to pay these people back their money, if you know what I mean. But also, they lent it to me, and then when they lent it to me in good faith, right? And so I wanted to pay them back their money, so I had to suffer, man. Trust me, I'd be working, and after paying all my bills, I remember sometimes I used to look at it, and when I used to work out a month, I was going, boy, after I pay everything this month, I'll have about £20 to my name. If I'm lucky. That's £20 to buy food and stuff like that. Bro, I used to be able to stretch out like a tenner into a week shopping. I used to eat some corned beef and rice them period there. And I mean, there were tough times, man. There were really, really tough times for about 2 years, paying all that back, sorting out, tying up all the loose ends. And as I said, so what was bitter about it is that we were talking about, we got a club, it's packed, packing it out every weekend. So you're like, so you just keep thinking about it and say, if these people didn't come in and shut, what they basically did, the licensing people, was they came down really, there was an incident at the club. As I said, they didn't like us from day one. There was an incident, actually the incident didn't even happen inside the club, it happened outside the club. They came down on us like a ton of bricks. They made it so that we had to shut the club at midnight. This is a club that used to shut at 4. They chop it from 4 to midnight. That killed all the trade. They knew that was what would happen. Killed everything on the trade. We still tried to see what we could salvage out of running it. It didn't work, and had to shut it down. And when you spent a lot of time, going into a place that was kind of a rundown place, fixed it all up, niced it up, spent loads of times promoting it, would spend like 20 hours a day at this place, making sure it run right. And for that to happen, the outside thing, you're full of a bit of anger.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, you know, and you're thinking about the fact that you could, instead of losing money, you should be making money. So it was a tough one to take, that one. It was really tough.
You know what, I think it's so valuable for people to hear, because I think sometimes when we hear success stories, and we're going to talk about Arsenal Fan TV and what you've built. And
I've never really told that story a lot before, you know, because I speak about it with, as I said, my friend Coogan, right? If you used to, you know, he does the boxing channel. And a lot of times when we're together, we're like, yeah, remember we had that club, bro? Yeah, we laugh about it now. But it was tough times, man. Really tough.
Yeah. And I feel like so often we just hear the success. We don't hear the stories of 2 years, no money after you, and you're working as well. You're putting in work.
I'm working. I've got kids. It's tough. When I say, by the way, when I say like £10, right, that was after this food for the kids.
Yeah.
Personally, about £10, right? Before everybody thought I starved my kids off, right? But yeah, like I'd have no money left, like nothing. Like that was it. Like breadline business, man. Like zero. You know, and then I'd say those times are like mentally they can kind of get to you, because then you can't really tell nobody what's going on. Like, you don't want to tell people kind of how rough things are, you know, but they're rough. And that taught me a lot, that period. And then there was also some things around it, like people trying to rip you off. And so, but I think all of those things were learnings. They were learnings. They really were learnings, you know what I mean?
And I think also in those periods when things feel difficult, especially, and I've had this, everything hits you harder as well. Someone tries to overcharge you or try something with you, it feels so much more personal.
Trust me, man. Trust me. It's when somebody rips you off and you've got no money.
You're like, they're trying to end me.
Yo, listen. Yeah, it's tough. It's really, really tough. And, you know, to come out the end of that, you got to be strong, because, you know, but again, as I said, because I'm not an ego person, even though I was embarrassed about the whole situation and stuff like that, and even though it was really tough, I knew what I had to do, man. I had to get back into work. I need to work hard, just get my head down, really start putting it in, trying to earn some money. And sort of in my mind, I'll be like, I'll be back later on down the line. Not now. I knew it was going to be a bit of a slog, but I'm thinking later on down the line, I'll come again.
I'll be back. I love that. Okay, there was something that you mentioned, and you said, and it's such an exciting time in a business where you start to see this can actually be something. You just start to see some of those signs of this could actually be my full-time thing. Like this is going somewhere. And I'm curious, when we get into the origin of Arsenal Fan TV, what was the moment, or maybe it's even a series of moments, where you just started to think, there's something here. It's more than just, you know, recording and putting it on YouTube. Like, there's actually a business. There's something here for me.
I think listen, there was one period when load of videos blew up and we had a viral moment. Funny enough, one of the guys who was that big video that blew up was here recording earlier. Chris Hudson. And,
I remember that video.
You remember that?
Yeah.
He was there.
That was the first one I ever saw.
Yeah, he was here earlier, man. It was good to see him. You know what I mean? He was recording on an episode called Supporters Club, and that was the real one that really blew up. And there was other videos on that day, and the next day newspapers were contacting me, and I was like, yeah, man, we've blown. We're back. Viral. You know what I mean? But even before that, though, I could see the thing growing. And what I liked about it was the interaction that we were getting from people that were watching the content, the response. I knew already that this is going to be good, because I could see it was a completely different feeling to all the other things I've done, because of the feedback and you know, and I was always sort of like, as well as this being a business, You know, I'm a fan. I'm a massive Arsenal fan, and we're providing a service, and people are really appreciating this service, and this service is for free. I could see it rising. I could see it building. I could see, I had a good feeling. I had a good feeling about this one. This one felt right.
You know what? I want to make sure that I give context to people, because I think looking at it now in 2024, where we see fan cams and we see even people that are just sports fans and football fans having personalities and influence, it feels like a common thing. But in the time period that you're talking about, taking a camera out and recording someone who's just an Arsenal fan, they're like a football, soccer fan, is unique. Like, it's not really something that's blowing up on the internet. And so, even, you know what, go a bit deeper into that first viral moment, because I even remember the energy and the context around the club. And I remember even the game when that video blew up. Yeah. And it was right at the start of the season. Right at the
start of the season. What happened was Arsenal going for a tough time. We'd had a summer where we hadn't bought any players, and the fans were mad frustrated, because I think every fan were like, we need a striker, we need a defensive midfielder, I've been doing a transfer show all summer, we didn't buy no one. We come to our first game, everybody's already a bit frustrated and saying, how have we not bought no one yet? Everybody else around us is buying, why are we not buying? And then we go and lose our first game of the season to Aston Villa, and then the frustration just boiled over. And I think what those videos that we did captured was the frustration of the fans. And that's why they went so big, because they all spoke from the heart. They were so frustrated, and that's why it was just compelling content. The one with Chris Hudson, I remember, like, when we filmed that video, we would just stop setting up, because obviously I watch every game. I'm a season ticket holder, so come out and we're just setting up, and he come up and he goes, listen, no. He started ranting already, and I go, hold on, let's get the equipment together. And he goes, what I've got to say, you lot won't put out. And I said, no, we will. I said, this is our platform, this is what we're about on this platform. We're about people having their opinion. And then he just went in. He went in, and I even just, like, when I was interviewing him, I was like, I can't disagree with anything this guy's saying. Like, he's just, and then there was other videos after that same day, and they just all blew up. They all went viral. And I was like, wow, But nobody was doing it how we did it. Nobody was really. You see some people interview fans before a game. You see people interview fans and package it up all together, like the game, and come out like 3-4 days later. Whereas my thing was different. I'm like, nah, the videos come out the same day, as quickly as we possibly can get them out, so that, we're in that conversation when people are talking about games. So we did things a lot different, and we did things that, like, they'd never been done before. Never. No one was doing what we did. No one. So that's what made it so exciting, because, there's no, but that's also that makes you make mistakes along the line, because you don't know, there's not a blueprint
to follow.
So a lot of things you're doing for the first time, you know what I mean? But it was exciting. It was, and the content we was making was incredible.
You know what, and this has been my experience with content creation and the podcast. The life of a creator is like, you kind of go from nothing to something. So it's like nothing is happening. And I remember for us, we were getting like 100 views every episode, and we're putting it out week after week. We're showing up consistently, 100 views. This thing is not budging, or it's budging very minimally, maybe 125 views. Like it's minimal. And I'm curious, in your guys' case, give that context of what was it looking like before that moment, and then you have obviously Chris Hudson, and I remember it so vividly, because to your point, he captured the emotion of a fan base. And I don't even know how long the video was, 5, 6, 7 minutes, whatever.
I don't even think it was that long.
Yeah.
It was about 4 or 5 minutes max.
And it articulated perfectly what the fans felt.
Yeah.
And so talk to me, what was even that context of, what was the channel before, and then where did it go after?
The channel before was growing. So, But when I was happy with how he was going. I was like, we were getting 10,000, 20,000, 5,000. But we were consistently getting, like how you described, we were getting good numbers. Because when we first started off, like, I remember we were high-fiving each other and we got 100 people watching it. But the Chris Hudson video and those other videos on that day, they got 1 million views, trended number 1 on YouTube. Like, that's now all of a sudden, you're like, what? Different stratosphere. You know what I mean? Like, so, they just blew up like nuts. So before that, I was still thinking, yeah, you know what I mean? I was like, I was happy with how we were growing. I was happy with what we was doing. Even that summer, I was doing the transfer shows. They're getting good views. But not like this. That was... That's crazy. I was like, when I looked at the numbers the next day, I couldn't believe it, man. I was like, Jesus. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What did your life look like at that point? Are you still working?
I was still working, yeah. Yeah, still working at that point. I remember one of the things I used to do is like, because as it started to get bigger and bigger and bigger, at my workplace, they would go, Robbie, we saw a video this weekend. It's like you interviewing a fan outside West Ham. I remember my boss was a West Ham fan, right? That was you, innit? You're interviewing a guy outside West Ham. And I was going, yeah, that was me. He goes, so what's this then? I go, nah, it's my friend's thing. So my friend's got a little channel, I just can't help him out. And I always try. So I never really told him the full. It's funny enough, right? I met my boss, my ex-boss, right, on a tube one day. That was about a year ago. And then he goes, now I know what you was up to. And we had a great laugh, man, because he was such a nice guy, right? He still works in the same place in Stratford. And he was going, now I know what you was up to. I was going, yeah, I couldn't say, because that was the other thing as well. I'd learnt that from before because I'd had another job one time when I did the music thing, when they knew what I was doing. So when I first was doing the music, I also was like working as well at the same time, and I didn't hide what I did, and he started to see a little jealousy in that workplace creep in. They all thought I was making big money. So I remember one time I had somebody had asked me to do a show in America, and I asked them for holiday, and they said, nah, we can't give you that holiday. And I was like, why? There's no one else is on holiday at that time. I'm only asking for like 4 days. And I realised that the head of my department was just jealous. He thought I was making a load of money, and in the end, I almost had to threaten to leave for them to give me the leave, and I had to take it as an unpaid leave. And I learnt from then. So that's when I was doing this one now. Every time they'd ask me, I was going, I'm a season ticket holder at Arsenal. Just help my mate out. You know, he's like, oh yeah, okay. Until it started to get big now, right? That excuse started to wear out. You know what I mean? They see that companies have done interviews with me, I talked about how I set it up and all that. They're like, right?
They're like, it's him.
yeah. They're just on my case. I come in on a Monday, they'd be on me, man. Like, what happened? You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was good times though. Good times. It was good times.
And I'm curious because I think I was watching an interview you did where you mentioned like newspapers or like radio stations, like you're starting to get like almost national coverage. And
that when those videos blew up, being national coverage, every newspaper, they running the videos. Some of them nicked it, didn't even ask permission. I had to get in contact with them and say, yeah, how are you running my video? What was, it was everywhere. Different countries had it with different translations. I saw it in China with subtitles. Like, it was crazy. Crazy. That's when I started to say, you know what, this thing could really do well if I do it properly.
Yeah. And I'm just curious, like, just the reality of your life in terms of, for people that aren't so familiar with football, it's like, there's midweek games, there's games on the weekend. Like sometimes Arsenal are playing every 3 days, and so you're seeing like national coverage. You're still working a job, and then I'm sure people are calling you. You're having to record videes on like a Wednesday or a Tuesday night,
and then
the next day turn up to
you
work.
could have Burnley away during the week, and then I've got to get up in the next morning to go into work in the meeting. with 2 hours sleep. Tough. You know, I'll be like dozing like this, right? You know what I mean? I used to drive with my football shirt and that in the back of my car because I was doing surveying. So that was you know what, that job really helped me because I was always on the move to go and look at properties and stuff like that, right? So driving up and around London, and then, you know, you might be listening to the radio, a bit of breaking news, you know what I mean? Breaking news, Arsenal are looking at signing such and such and such. Like, that's big news, man. Pull the car over, take my shirt off and that, put my football shirt on. I used to have a little tripod thing, position it, so it just took the top, didn't catch my trousers, because I used to wear a suit to work. Just capture the top part, and then I say, breaking news. Finish, send the video to my friend, right, who's like my camera guy. He was my partner at that time doing the business. He'd send it to him, bring him up and go, yeah, just send your video, man. Upload it up onto YouTube now. He goes, yeah. He'd upload it and that, and then just put my shirt back on, tie up, jacket, get back in the car and go back to work. That was all the time as well. That was almost a daily thing, man, you know what I mean? I'd go to do visits at properties, and I'd be like, yeah, I need to do a show, man. How can I time this? All right. What I'm going to do, this is a regular trick. You know, if my old workplace is watching, you're learning some little tricks I used to do now. But you know the one thing about me, I always made sure that all my work was up to date and everything was delivered, so they couldn't say nothing. So what is a typical trick I used to do, yeah, is that, say, as I said, I had to visit a lot of properties, and sometimes I'd have to go the day before. So I say I know that, like, I need to do some previews and stuff like that for games coming up. What I'd do is I'd go like the day before, right, and I'd visit like 5 properties. But I only wrote down that I've done 2. But I've done the 3 that I'm supposed to do the next day as well. So I've done them all.
Yeah.
So then when the next day come now, I say, yeah, right, I'm just going up to go and visit that property. I've got to go see one up in Stamford Hill. I've got another one I've got to go and see down in northwest London, and then I've got another one. They go, okay, Robbie, no problem. Then I jump in my car, drive to the Emirates, took them my shirt on and that, film, you know, meet my partner there. We'd film, like, you know, a preview to the game, film another bit of content and that. Then I'd get back. But I bought myself some time because I'd done the other properties the day before.
Yeah.
And them little tricks I used to use.
You know what's funny? I used to do exactly the same thing when I was doing this podcast on the side before I moved full time to it.
Yeah.
It's like you're living a double life.
I was living a double life, bro. Trust me.
Yeah.
A double life, man. A couple of times I nearly got caught as well.
Yeah.
A couple of times I nearly got caught. I said, Robbie, the guy said that they saw you driving up. I said, yeah, but you see, the properties were done now. I said, yeah, but I did drive up towards the thing. I was just going to drop off something to my cousin, but I did the property. Look, there's the report. Oh, no, I didn't say you didn't do it. It's just that I thought it's a bit strange. But see, my work was always done. So they never had nothing. They might hear this, they might hear that. They might think, boy, what's he up to with AFTV, this AFTV thing, Arsenal Fan TV, what's he up to? But the one thing, my work was always done. If I had to stay there till 9 at night, right, the place used to finish about 5-ish, I'd stay there and do. Their work didn't suffer. I suffered, right? But their work didn't suffer, and my work on AFTV didn't suffer, and I just made sure that, and that's how I managed to juggle it.
That gave you the time to get it right.
Yes. Till eventually you come to the stage where it's like, right, it's time to leave that job now and do it full time. And that's a tough decision to make as well. Because I'm working a job, paying me decent money, I'm back on my feet again. Remember I told you how rough things were before that? So, you know, you got family to explain things to. So yeah, I'm gonna do this full time. What? Remember what happened with that? Trust me, it's gonna be all right this time. But you're still running a risk because a lot of people I give a lot of talks at colleges and schools and that, and people always ask me, when did you know? I said, you know what? And they go, when did you know that? You know that time when you're earning so much more money on this that you could? I said, listen, that's not what happened with my thing. You come to a point where you say to yourself, the only way I'm going to be able to make more money on this is if I leave that and you're taking a risk because you're hoping that your extra input now and that into this side is going to lead to you, lead to you being able to leave that side and don't feel the effects. And you do feel the effects at first because, you've only got one income again now. And you have to make that work. So you actually find that I thought it'd be easier because I thought, right, I'm leaving a full-time job and now I'm just concentrating on this full-time and it's going to be less work for me now. I'm just be able to do a bit more on that, but I'll have more time to myself. No, because you've got to make that work. You'll work twice as much as what you did, even working harder than you was doing before. Because you've got to make that work now. But I like that. You're out of your comfort zone now, so you can't play around. That has to work. Has to. And I'm a person that's going back to what we used to talking about, like with my dad. I'm not scared to work. That he instilled that in me. I'm not scared of things. And if I have to work if you said to me today, Robbie, we're going to be working here tonight till midnight, you can ask any of my guys that I'll be here. I'm not scared of work. If we have to work 24 hours, we'll work it. I've been on tour doing our thing. We've had like half an hour sleep. We'll have half an hour sleep. We'll sleep when we get back home. I'm not scared of that. So when I moved into that, now doing that full time, that was some work. I was knackered.
Yeah. You take the leap. And I remember how it felt to me when I made the decision to leave my job. It felt very much like a leap of faith. And it sounds like it was similar for you. Yeah.
It is a leap of faith.
100% a leap of faith.
100%.
And so I'm curious, what happens after the leap of faith? What are like the same way that Chris Hudson video, it feels like an inflection point. It feels like it was going like this and then up. What were some of those other moments after you made that leap of faith where you look back on now and you're like, that was another turning point?
There's so many. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, there's so many things just started to happen, man. Like, for starters, like, consistently we're getting great numbers.
What are great numbers? Like, just put it into context for people.
Great numbers for me is anything from, we do so many videos. So to me, great numbers is anything from 50,000 views up. When you're doing so many videos, because the thing about when you're making content around football is it doesn't have a lot of shelf life, most of the content. It's not what they call evergreen content. So it's relevant to a game, most content. So, if we're talking about, I don't know, the last game that we had, it'd be relevant leading up to it, it'd be relevant on the game, it'd be relevant for a couple of days after. Everybody moves on to the next game. And so your content, so if you can you're getting 50 up on, those are brilliant views, 100,000, 250,000. You start going, those are unbelievable views. So we started getting loads of videos that, me, and I've always been like this, I don't so much look on the headline viral. 1,500,000, 750,000. I don't so much look at those. I like to look at more like the consistent numbers, when I start seeing those doing well, that's when I'm really happy. Because you can have a viral video today and then nothing I've seen a lot of content creators, they'll do this big viral video, 1 million views, well, that's fantastic. And then the next 10 videos is like done barely nothing. I don't want that. I want consistent numbers. So we were doing consistent numbers, and then there was just like big moments. I remember when we had that little clash with Gary Neville, when he had a go at us and was talking about, how it is, what we're doing is embarrassing. And then I had to go back at him. I remember it was at a party that night, and I saw the video he did, and I was like, nah, man, this guy's out of order. I go, respect him as a footballer and everything, and I pundit. But how dare he? I was angry. Went on my phone, recorded a video, put it out there. That went viral, and then it culminated with us meeting up and doing a video, and us talking about, but ending it with a lot of respect for each other, you know what I mean? And that was a big turning point because Sky invited us to do that, and I think that put a lot of eyes on what we did outside of our sphere of people, and then just like so many.
You know, actually, let me
So
give some context to that, because and it was interesting to me just as a viewer, and these times I'm probably, I don't know, 15, 16 years old, and so I've seen this fan channel, and I started to tune in every week because I'm an Arsenal fan, and I'd love to just see the reaction and see how like other fans were feeling. And so you kind of go from being this quite niche fan page to getting views, and like you say, you're getting views with such a consistency and such a regularity that you're now getting the attention of like what I'd call like the legacy media, like the established media here in the UK. That's like Sky Sports or even like ITV or BBC. Like
all of these every newspaper, all of them. A lot of them were hating on us. Lots and lots of them, man.
And you know what? Because I even have a few quotes here, not to take you down memory lane, but so this is what Gary Neville said. He said, "I walked out of the Chelsea ground yesterday and saw some of these Arsenal fan TV things everywhere. And to be honest with you, it was embarrassing watching and listening to it." Simon Jordan said on Talk Sport, he said, "Arsenal fan TV is drivel. They operate on misery. Adding it thrives on toxicity. It's a commercial venture, and the guy Robbie makes a fortune off of it." Ray Parlour called you guys embarrassing on Talk Sport. And so I'm curious, because I go back to like where your mentality was at that point, because you have this thing, and you know what's even interesting is when you put it in the perspective of these different entrepreneurial ventures that you've done previously, where they're starting to work, and then there's a moment where it almost feels like it loses steam, or some sort of external influence comes in and ruins what we have. And so just me judging from the outside, it almost felt coordinated. It felt like they were really trying to take it out.
No, they were trying to take it out.
I'm just curious, given what had happened before, and given how much you'd bet personally on this working out, where was your mind at when you start to hear these different things, and people I'm sure that you even respected, that you had watched on TV, on the radio, Ray Parlour, Arsenal legend, like they're starting to come at you in this way? What is the feeling?
Bit different this time, because like my thing is now they're coming at us because they're scared. Some of them are, like you said, some of the legacy media are thinking, hold on a minute, we thought these guys were just some little loud rabble rousers in the thing, and they're here every week. And every week there's more videos and more and more and more. What's going on? And now they're trying to take it down, but I knew that we had a big following. So like, you say something about me, like when Simon Jordan had a go at me, I'll say something back, because I know that my audience is bigger than yours. So let's go, right? So that's what I mean. So I'm not scared. I ain't scared of these, man. I was like, you know what? You're going to say what you got to say. I'll say what I got to say, because and also I know what I'm doing. I know the people are loving not everybody loves what we do, obviously, but I know that we got a lot of people who love our content, who've been following it for years. Like you said, you were 13 years old, you're watching it. I see the response that we get for the majority of people. So I'm quite confident. I'm like, yeah, you can stay over there. We just lost 6-0 to Chelsea, and the fans are unhappy. Well, you want them to come out there and be jumping up and down thing? And then Simon Jordan, how many games have you been to? You don't even go to football games, and you're going to come and tell football fans that go and pay their hard-earned money this and that. I was like, nah, I'm come back. I ain't scared of you, man. I'll come back and I'll say my piece, right? And, so this one I was like, this one for me is like, you ain't taking this down, bro. You ain't taking this down. And I'll fight you, right? Not obviously, but I will fight for my for what I do, because I know what I've built. I've taken time to build it. Where were you, man, when I was doing this with no money? I heard people saying about, like Simon Jordan saying how much money I made. He didn't finance this. I did, out of my own pocket, without no loans, without no nothing. Out of my own pocket, I financed it, right? Plus, what, am I not allowed to make any money? Only you can make money. I can't make money. So I was ready for them, man. I was ready for them. When they start come, like loads of them come as well. Like you just named out a few. Loads come. Loads and loads. of legacy media, fan groups who didn't like us. I've been got in it for years. But, bro, I just look at, I'm hardened now from all the things I've told you earlier as well. I'm hardened. Maybe that's what's molded me now. I'm hardened. So I'm like, yeah, bro, you can't talk, as they say. You know what I mean? As they say back in the reggae, you can't talk if you want to talk, but me I do my thing and me I come true. And not only that, I'm the first of many. I'm not the first guy coming through the gate. There's enough man coming behind me as well. You can't stop this movement now. It's almost like a movement. There's a different type of media. And you know, so listen, they've come for me hard over the years, man. You do have to have a thick skin. You hear some things said about you, I mean, you're told about this and that. But I was like, keep talking. They got a saying in it. They said, boy, when no one's talking about you, nothing will go on for you. Right, so keep talking, right? So, yeah, and you know, when certain people said stuff, you know what I mean, it did affect you. But do you know what as well, which was a really great thing? I remember like some of the things that were said, some of the responses I got from like even, I remember I got a message from Ian Wright that to this day I was so grateful for. He's like, he messaged me and he said, yeah, listen, you keep doing your thing. What you're doing's brilliant. You put your work into it. Now everybody has to like what you're doing. Keep working hard. Don't watch the noise. I remember I met Levi Roots, the used to, you know, the reggae sauce.
Yeah.
I used to know him from back in the day because he used to be on a sound called Coxon. And then I met him one time. He's got, Robbie, man, this, because he's an Arsenal fan. He's got, it's Arsenal thing what you do. He goes, good, well done, man. Because I'll give you a warning. So I was thinking, well, what now? What have I done now, right? He goes, they're going to come for you, man. As your thing starts to really grow and get big, people are going to start coming for you. They're going to start cussing you, criticizing you. They're going to start all kind of different people. He goes, some people are going to come for you you didn't even expect. And he's been so right. He goes, some people are going to come for you, you'll be like shocked. And he goes, but one thing, do not let that derail what you're trying to do. And he goes, I'm telling you this from experience. He says, so do not let it derail you from doing. Stay focused, stay concentrated on what you're trying to achieve and believe in what you're trying to achieve. And that's what I've done. That's what I've done. And I've now seen people who used to come for me and say this and that, doing what we do, copying it. And I like that. I don't like try to then perk up my head and say, oh, look, you're copying me now. I kind of take that as a compliment that actually, you know. There's about 2 weeks ago, I gave a talk at BBC's. They had an away day for all the BBC staff, football, for all the Radio 5 Live, Match of the Day, all that. And they asked me to come along and speak about how, you know, me and it was Paul from Redmen TV, who's the Liverpool channel, and we was talking about how we make content and how we engage with our audiences and that. BBC asked us to come and give that talk, you know? So that just goes to show you how far we've come, that now, you know, you can't get more established than that, and they're recognizing what we're doing and they're saying, right, how can we learn from them? And I really respected that. Just the same way I learn from them. I watch Match of the Day. I watch everything on TV, and I don't cuss it. I learn from it. And I always say as well, if you're a content creator as well, always have it in your mind that not everybody's going to like what you do either. It's facts. I don't like everything I see on TV. You know, my daughter loves Love Island. I don't really. It's not my thing. When I see it on, I'm like, why? So there ain't nothing else we can. But she's glued. So they're doing something right. And the numbers that they get. So I ain't going to cuss it. I'll just say, I don't like it. It's not my thing. But there's nothing wrong with it because they are obviously doing something very, very well. Because their numbers don't lie. The people that follow it and engage with it on a day-to-day basis absolutely love it. I'm just not one of them. So I've got to also look on that when it comes to AFTV. Not everybody's going to love what I do. I get fans. Arsenal fans who come to me, oh, I don't like what you do. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's embarrassing. Shouldn't talk about the club. But cool, Bridge. That's all right. That's your opinion. No worries. No worries. But I can't force you to like, just because you support Arsenal, I can't force you to like it. You know what I mean? No problem. I'm cool with that. You know?
Yeah.
But
I get that you expected it. And I get to a certain degree that...
No, you don't expect the level. Because I tell you, like, for a good few years, like, they come for me hard. They still, even to this day, you get man like Simon Jordan's always talking about AFTV, man. I have to wonder, this man, I call him the Nigel Farage of radio. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, this man who's talking about me, I don't talk about you. Always hear him little digs. That mob from AFTV and that. Bro, why do you think you're on the radio? That's what I told him that day when he was there. I go, you're only here because you're controversial. You're not on TalkSport for your looks. You're there because you're a controversial guy who talks about football. And you're good at what you do. But don't fool yourself, right? I mean, don't think you're better than us just because, I don't know, where you was educated or whatever. Because you're not, right? And also, you don't get the numbers we get. So relax. You do your thing, like I said about the thing. You do your thing, we do our thing. But it's like he's obsessed, man. The guy's always talking about it. The amount of times I've been driving in my car, I've been listening. Yeah, them lot from AFTV. I was like, bro, is this man still hurt from that time I went on that show? I know he was very angry with me. He was very angry with me that day. Very angry. He didn't even want to shake my hand at the end of the show. That's all right.
Did it feel personal to you?
What, with him? Very, very personal.
Why do you think that was?
Just the way he was, the way he went in. As I said, he didn't want to shake my hand at the end of the show. Before the show started, they said they're going to do a photo thing at the end of the show with us shaking hands. He didn't want to shake. Like, I think he thought I was just going to come in there and just be your typical, you know, maybe black guy that's just going to start, in his eyes, because it's not a typical black guy, but maybe he just thought I was just going to cut, when the pressure come from me, I'm going to start cussing. So, yeah, boy, move on. Nah, I just sat there. I had to listen to what he had to say. I respectfully disagreed with absolutely everything he said and told my part. And I don't think he liked some of the things I said. Maybe he didn't think that I was going to have a go at him, because I was like, how can you tell? You don't go to games. You're on radio talking about football. How many games have you been to? He's telling me about Crystal Palace. I know in general, you're talking about football in general. Surely you should be out. Can't just watch it on your TV and tell a football fan is going to they watch a game week in, week out. So I did feel it was very personal. But didn't surprise me. And I've had it before. And it's kind of goes with the territory, isn't it? Kind of happens. But as I said, you can't force everybody to like what you do, because, you know, there's a lot of people who don't like his show, but his show's still popular. So you can't force. Listen, just got to do. You know, a lot of people don't like Kim Kardashian, but she's big. A lot of people don't like Jay-Z. He's big. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't like Arsenal. They're big. You know what I mean? So you just got to do what you're doing to the best of your ability. You got to expect these things to come. When you start, the bigger you get. I speak to influencers all the time, and I say to them, listen, this is coming. Be ready for it. Be prepared. It would be, you know what I mean? Don't, again, I pass on the message that I had. Don't let it derail you. Don't let it affect you. It's going to affect you a bit. You're going to feel, you know, but don't dwell on it too long, because, you know, the next day it's another news cycle, or, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying about you have to have thick skin. You have to have thick skin in this game, and that comes with the territory of people watching and consuming your content. But at the end of the day, we're all human, right? And so I'm curious, I'm like...
This is what humans do, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I'm curious, in that time period, was there something that just pierced through, or someone that it kind of just rocked you? Like you heard that person say something or do something, and it was like,
you know what affects me more? You know what affects me more, right? When it's somebody you know and you trusted, and they say stuff. That's when it cuts through. When it's like people yeah, you're upset about it. Yeah, but honestly, by the next day, idiot. You know what I mean? But when it's somebody that you know, you thought was all right, and then they do it, that's when it cuts through, because you're kind of like, I thought this person was, I thought they were right, and it's almost like you lose trust. A lot of time you kind of start losing a bit of trust for people. You don't want to let people in your kind of circle because you're like, I'm too sure about is this guy going to say this or that, which is that's a bad thing, because you're starting to sometimes judge people before
speaking with them or knowing them.
Yeah, you know what I mean, which is wrong. So, but when just people in general, it cuts through in that you're upset. Naturally, you're going to be upset, but I have learnt to just say, right, on to the next thing, or on to the next hater.
Yeah.
Or, he's a hater. You get it, because it is part of this, unfortunately. Social media especially, because anybody can write down something. So you have to get used to the fact that, the way it cuts through is when it's personal or when it's like racist or stuff like that. Those things cut through you more, because it's like, and even a racism thing, the worst thing about that, sometimes you start to get a bit immune to it, right? Which is not a good thing either, to get immune to it, because it's so wrong. So, but you can't make it derail. Don't make it derail you. It's like these are little tests sometimes, almost like, how are you going to react to this? How are you going to deal with this? Are you going to, curl up and, so that and if they see you do that, they'll do more and more and more and more until you just hopefully pack it all in and stop. And I already told you earlier, I'm not a guy scared of things, right? So I ain't packing up nothing. I'm here to stay. Or I pack up when I'm ready to pack up. You know what I mean? That's how I am,
Yeah. Was there an instance where it felt like it nearly derailed what you had going on? And I'm not talking about like it ruined the channel or anything, but for you, it was just like, maybe I need to take like an afternoon off. I need to take like a day off from this.
Well, listen, I've had a lot of those.
Yeah.
Where I just feel like, I need a break.
What is there a moment that kind of comes to mind where you're like, that's the one that really...
I remember there was an incident in the Emirates where some guys came, there are some fans, came and they tried to stop us from filming. They ran upon us. They tried to, it nearly turned into a big fight. My nephew got involved, and where that was really bad, that situation, was that the week before that, my niece had passed away suddenly. And, my nephew had come to the game to try and take his mind off it. And then my brother, obviously it's his daughter, and we were all there, and these guys come at that time, and that could have got really bad, because honestly, I was so angry. So angry that day. But again, and what I said to you sometimes, that it's like God's directing you, is that I don't know how I didn't react. I was there pulling my nephew away, saying, listen, leave it, man, leave it. Leave it. And he's going, no, I said, leave it, let's leave it, right? And I think that's God. That's God saying to me, listen, because that could have turned into something really nasty. Even after it, like I had lots, I told you already, the business I used to be in, music, and people I knew. I had lots of people ringing me up, yo, Robbie, no, we'll take care of it. I said, nah, nothing to take care of. It's just an incident. It's cool. You know what I mean? And I'm, because if I would have reacted to that, maybe to this day, there'd be no AFTV, So I remember that was a big one. That was a big one. And I'm so glad that, I'm proud of how I reacted to it. At the time, I was like, I'm at home, I'm like, yo, Robbie, you're gone soft. And How you making man come and you're there telling, well, I've gotten soft or something, man. It's, you know, we all know where we're from. We know we're supposed to, a bit like that film Carlito. You ever see that film Carlito's Way, where the guy goes, well, you know what happens next. We know how this story works normally. You're supposed to run back up on these men. But something inside of me was saying, no. I know you're upset. Calm down. It will sort itself out. And it did. Actually, one of them guys, one of the guys out of it did come back several weeks later, but it did come back and apologise. And I accepted that. And we moved on. We move on from it. But at the time, I was really seething, man, with anger. And I think a lot of it was to do with the circumstance of what happened the week before. Because, you know, my brother had lost his daughter, and as I said, it was a sudden. And you got all the, you know, and that's the other thing. Sometimes you've got a lot of things going on in the background which people don't know about. That, you know, so, and that was going on, and funerals to sort out, and, you know, your brother's on the floor because he's lost his daughter. My nephew's on the floor. The whole family's on the floor because she was much loved, you know. So I think that was one where, you know, I was really affected at the time. But something just made me not react. Or not react in the way I was gonna, I think I would have reacted back in the day, you know, which was, you know.
Yeah, you know, as I listen to your story and I just observe, there's a belief and like a faith aspect that is a very important part of it.
Yeah.
Just trusting and it not even being clear exactly in that moment what you're trusting, but trusting that it will work out.
Yeah, I told you already, I believe in God. And, you know, I used to go to church as a kid, and, you know, I believe in God. I believe in God. I believe there is a God, right? So, and I believe that, you know, I have faith, you know, that, you know, when I pray to him, when I ask him for things, I have faith that, you know, he will deliver. I always just say to people, he doesn't deliver in the way we think is going to happen. So sometimes you pray to God and you ask for something and he does it in his way, but he will do it. And he does it in his time. And his time ain't our time. Because when I ask for something, I want it tomorrow. And his time, it could be in 2 years. But you just got to believe. You got to believe. And I do think that sometimes, like, he's guiding and he's talking, and even sometimes when bad things happen, you know, that's part of, you know, because we can't comprehend God. Because look what he created. So we can't comprehend God, and, you know, and sometimes I question I used to sometimes question, when you see some of the things going on in the world, some of the conflicts and some of the, you think, why? Well, if there is a God, why aren't we just done on it? But I've sort of now said to myself, no, but it has to be a thing that we just have to say to ourselves, we don't understand it, we can't comprehend it. One day maybe it will become clear to us why these things happened. But I do believe there's a God. I really do. And I know that there's been moments in my life that he's been guiding me, because if not, like I said, that situation there, nah, there ain't no God, man. You react to that. You got to deal with that, you know what I mean? And probably we ain't doing no interview right now. Or the interviews, you know, when anyone's behind bars, like
The jail thing.
yeah, on the phone. You know when you see them films and the guys on the phone go, yeah, well. So tell us your story. And then you got a little paper like that, right? Yeah.
And then it's timing out. And we had to,
Yeah. All right, that's it. Time. You can come back and see
we'll
me
get
next
part
week.
2 next week. You know, I just think it resonates, because I think the hardest moments in life is when it feels it's not one thing going wrong, it's several things going wrong at the same time. And there is someone that is listening, that is in that moment where it feels like it's not only, you know, this person passed away. It's also this thing is happening in my life. It's also I just got fired from my job. It's also my wife's going through this. It's all of these things just happening at the same time. And that's really where the faith, not even just a religious sense, just the belief is really tested. Your character is tested. And I'm curious, as someone who went through that and has gone through that, feels like multiple times. If you were to give a word of advice for that person that is, they are deeply in that moment where like, it just feels like everything in them is getting tested. And it's like, can I stay the course? What would you say? What would you say to that person?
Yeah, obviously stay the course and try not to react to things based off of your emotions at the time. So many times you go and take a step back, reflect on that thing, and your view of it is different. There's a lot of times we react to things with emotions. And the trick of it is to try and react to things without emotion. And it's not easy, because we all naturally react to things with emotions. If someone comes in there and does something right now, I think I'm going to react to it with emotion. But if you can try to take that step, because so many times, isn't it, we have things happen. It could happen now, and by the time I get home and I've, settled myself down, had a little drink, a coffee or tea, and the night's gone, I think, actually, why did that guy say that to me? I wonder if something's going on with him. I wonder what. Let me ring him up and see. Let's sit down and talk about it properly. You know what I mean? So try not to react with pure emotions, because that's when it can be problems. You know. Yeah. And it's difficult because sometimes we just naturally react to emotions, don't we?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Here's where I want to end, and so cool even just, like hearing the story and just thinking of the space that we're in and the billions, like with a B, billions of views that you've gotten across AFTV and DR Sports and all of these things. And my mind turns to something that you said earlier, and we use that kind of analogy of Tom and Jerry, like the devil and the angel, and you're on your shoulders and feeling like your mom and your dad, and like what they instilled in you is always with you. And I'm curious, because you went from a channel that, you're working a job, you're working a 9 to 5, you have your friend, he's just there helping you record, to a channel now where, millions of dollars in turnover or revenue. You employ multiple people, you have all of these cameras, you have a studio, Studios. Thank you for the correction on that. Studios. You're doing something that you love as well.
Yeah.
For like in an area that you love. And I'm just curious, we just take that analogy a little bit further of your mom and your dad on your shoulder, and them just observing and watching everything that you've done and achieved. I don't know, if you had like a conversation with them, I'm just curious, like, what do you think their thoughts on it would be? What do you think that they would feel about everything that you've done to this point?
I think they'd be very proud. I think they'd be very, very proud. My mum passed away before I was doing this. And then my dad passed away recently, last few years. So he saw what I was building, and he was ready to tell me that, he's proud of what I was doing. My dad's not the sort of person that come lord you up. I told you he's old school.
Yeah.
But he'd be the sort of person going, see, the thing we are doing with Arsenal Fan TV, it's all right, Yeah, you're doing well. That was enough for me, because I know he's well proud.
That meant everything.
He's well proud. And then my mum, I know what she'd be telling me. She'd be like, doing well, but keep it up and help other people as well with it. So she'd be like, help. And I know she'd be saying that, because I know what she's like. So I'm a person that, like, I'm always trying to see if I can help when I see like talented people in this space, I try and help them, man. I try and be like, yo, I try and give, whether it's be with advice, whether it's like if I can put them on, I try and put them on. I like, you know what I mean? Because, you know, I think that's important. It's not just about just you. You know, if you've built this platform, that's great. They help other people to try and come through as well. It's not just about you. Leave a good legacy that way, where people can talk about it and say, yeah, so you. Like I heard there was a presenter that used to come on our channel back in the day called Anita. She's doing great things at the moment. She's on CBS, BBC. And I heard her saying, like, she did some podcasts and she was saying, oh yeah, Robbie helps me a lot in the day. That was really nice. So I like stuff like that. It's nice to know that. And then there's been other people, many other people come to say, yeah, Robbie, man, I started my thing because I saw you do that. Or there's been people that, like, we put on back in the day and they come and say, yeah, Robbie, man, bless, bro, for getting me started up in this thing. You know, I was chatting to Kalechi earlier. He's doing some great things in Africa. Right, and he's got boss because you. I go, nah, man, because you got the talent, bro. Yeah. He's off to. He said to me, he's flying to Morocco tomorrow. He's doing a Nigeria-Ghana game, and you know what I mean. So you know what I mean. A lot of people that's come through here are doing great things, or you know, they don't necessarily end up staying on AFTV or DR Sports. And sometimes they go on to other things, or you know. But I'm really pleased with that. That's one aspect of it I really like. And I know she'd be saying that to me. 'Cause I remember when she passed away, I always remember at her funeral, there were these random people that I'd never knew who get up and they say, oh, she used to help me so much. I went there, you know what I mean, and you know, I remember I had no money and she'd lend me money. I said, yeah, we should get money from to lend with, right? And she'd done so many things for people. The testimonies that they were giving at her funeral really moved me. I was like, geez, me and my brothers were going, yeah, did you, like certain people coming up and talking. I remember there was some little random guy who just came up. He's going, yeah, I was on the street and I remember I had a conversation with her and she did, me and my brothers going, yeah, who's that? Never seen this guy in my life, you know what I mean? So she'd be saying, you know, because she's like that, she'd be like, oh, no matter where, money you make, whatever, this fear money, help. Then you have to help other people as well. So I know that. So if I don't, I know she might appear up on there and just go, ping, yo, well, go on. Oh, yeah, you know what I mean? So I can't be selfish with the thing, you know what I mean? I know that. I know that. I know her. That's what she was like, you know what I mean? So yeah. That's what she'd be saying.
Yeah. No, I love that. And like even this episode today is testament to that. Like, it's funny, even just like a behind the scenes for the audience. We've been talking to your team for like months, even when Arsenal were doing their tour in the US.
Yeah, because we were supposed to do it in the States, and I couldn't.
And the channel was not like it is now, and you guys were like a pleasure to deal with the whole time and giving us that opportunity. So it's been a pleasure recording with you today.